The voicemail was 47 seconds long. I have listened to it 231 times. Not because I needed to hear it again, but because every time I almost forgave her completely, I pressed play one more time and let her own voice remind me exactly what she was capable of when nobody was watching. Before I tell you what was on that voicemail, I want to ask you something. What time is it where you are right now? Where are you watching this? Your bed, your couch, your car in a parking lot, because you needed 5 minutes alone. I ask because this story has traveled to places I never expected. And I think the women who find it are usually sitting somewhere quiet, trying to make sense of something that should not have required this much sense making. So, wherever you are tonight, stay with me. This Anna matters. My name is Claire. I am 37 years old. I am a pediatric occupational therapist at a children's rehabilitation center in Raleigh, North Carolina. I have spent 12 years helping children relearn how to hold a crayon, button a shirt, climb stairs without fear. I chose this work because I believe that small physical victories create enormous emotional ones. I say this not to impress you, but because it matters deeply to what Patricia did and what it cost my daughter. My daughter's name is Nora. She is 6 years old. She has a condition called strabismus, a misalignment of the eyes that, if left uncorrected past a certain developmental window, can result in permanent vision loss in the affected eye. Her pediatric ophthalmologist, a precise and careful woman named Dr. Yolanda Marsh, who has been practicing for 22 years, and keeps a small cactus named Gerald on her desk, had scheduled Nora for a corrective surgery on a Thursday morning in April. The appointment had taken 4 months to secure. The surgical window was narrow. Dr. Marsh had explained this to us twice, once in her office and once in a follow-up call, her voice carrying the specific weight of a doctor who needed parents to understand that timing was not flexible. My husband, David, and I had planned everything around that Thursday. I had arranged coverage at work. David had cleared his calendar at the architecture firm where he is a senior associate. My mother was flying in from Phoenix the night to stay with our younger son, Marcus, who is 4 and still too little to understand why his sister needed to go to the hospital. The one person we had not asked to help was Patricia. Patricia Holloway is David's mother. She is 64 years old. She lives 11 minutes from our house, a fact she mentions often as though proximity is a form of contribution. She has strong opinions about how children should be raised, how houses should be kept, and how daughters-in-law should express gratitude. In 7 years of marriage to David, I have smiled at approximately 4,000 of those opinions. I have pushed back on maybe 6. The ring she gave me when David and I got engaged was his grandmother's. A thin gold band with a smallable pearl. I wore it every day for 7 years. I am telling you about the ring now because it comes back later, and not in the way you might expect. On a Tuesday morning 11 days before Nora's surgery, I was in a session with a 7-year-old boy named Theo, who was relearning fine motor skills after a neurological event. It was 10:23 a.m. My phone was on silent on my desk, face down, the way I always keep it during sessions, because Theo deserved my full attention, and children can tell when an adult is somewhere else. When I finished with Theo at 10:51 and walked him back to his mother Denise, a quiet woman in a yellow cardigan who always brought me coffee from the hospital cafe downstairs. A medium oat latte, $4.75, which she had been bringing me every Tuesday for 8 months. I picked up my phone and saw a missed call from Dr. Marsh's office at 10:34 a.m. I stepped into the hallway and called back immediately. The receptionist, a young man named Brandon, who had the careful voice of someone delivering information he wished he did not have to deliver, told me. that Dr. Marsh's office had received a call that morning from a woman identifying herself as Nora's grandmother. The woman had said there had been a family emergency and that the surgery would need to be rescheduled. Brandon said the slot had already been released back into the scheduling system, and the next available opening with Dr. Marsh was in 6 months. I stood in that hallway and felt the floor shift. I said, very quietly, Brandon, I did not make that call. There was a pause. Then he said, I understand. I'm so sorry, Miss Claire. Would you like to speak with Dr. Marsh directly? I said yes. While I was on hold, listening to soft piano music that I will never be able to unhear, I opened my voicemail. I had one new message. It was from a number I did not recognize. The timestamp said 10:41 a.m. I pressed play. The voice was Patricia's. She said, Claire, honey, it's Pat. I just wanted to let you know I called Dr. Marsh's office this morning and moved Nora's surgery to a later date. I've been talking to my friend Connie. Her husband is an ophthalmologist in Charlotte, and he says April is too soon for a child this young, and we should get a second opinion first. I've already made some calls. I know you're going to be upset, but I'm doing this for Nora. I love that little girl more than you know. Okay, Han, call me when you get a chance. 47 seconds. She had canceled my daughter's medically necessary surgery and left me a voicemail about it. I listened to it once. Then I put my phone in my pocket, and I sat in the staff bathroom for 4 minutes and 40 seconds. I know the exact time because I was watching my watch. And I let myself feel everything. The fear about Nora's vision, the disbelief, the specific grief of realizing that someone you have been patient with for 7 years is not going to become a different person. And then I stood up, washed my hands, dried them on a paper towel that smelled faintly of the lavender hand soap. The hospital stocks in every dispenser, and I walked back to my desk. I had work to do. I want to be honest with you here because this is the part where I made choices I am still thinking about. My first instinct was to call Patricia immediately. My second instinct was to call David. My third instinct, the one I followed, was to call nobody and document everything first. Because I am a healthcare professional, and I understand that the version of events you establish in the first hour becomes the version everyone refers to forever. I called Dr. Marsh's office back and spoke with Dr. Marsh herself, who had been practicing for 22 years, and whose cactus named Gerald had survived 6 office relocations, a fact I know because she told me once while we waited for Nora's dilation drops to work. Dr. Marsh confirmed everything Brandon had told me. She confirmed that the surgical window was time-sensitive. She confirmed that waiting 6 months carried real risk to Nora's visual development. And she confirmed, very carefully, that it was not standard procedure to accept appointment cancellations from anyone other than the patient's legal guardians. I asked her to note in Nora's file that I had not authorized the cancellation. She said she would do that, and then she said something I wrote down word for word. Ms. Claire, I want to get Nora back in as soon as possible. Let me see what I can do about the schedule. Then I sent one text to David. Not a call. A text, because I needed him to read it without my voice shaking in the background. The text said, Your mother called Dr. Marsh's office this morning and canceled Nora's surgery without telling us. I have the voicemail. Please come home at 6 p.m. I need you to hear it before we do anything else. David replied at 11:17 a.m. with 4 words. I'm leaving right now. I texted back. Please don't. We do this together tonight, calmly. Nora needs both of us steady, he replied. Okay, 6 p.m. I love you. I put my phone back in my pocket and I went back to work. Because Theo had a follow-up session at 2 p.m. He deserved my full attention. And because falling apart in the middle of a Tuesday would not get my daughter's surgery back, David got home at 6:09 p.m. He was wearing his work clothes, a gray button-down, sleeves rolled to elbows, the way he always wore them by the end of the day. And he smelled like cold air and the cedar hand soap from his office bathroom. He stood in the kitchen, and I handed him my phone with the voicemail already pulled up. He listened once without moving. Then we called Patricia together. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was warm, the specific warmth she used when she believed a conversation was going to go her way. David and Claire, is this a three-way call? How fun, David said. Mom, we need to talk about what happened today. A small pause. I figured you'd call. I know it seems sudden, but Connie's husband, Mom. His voice was quiet. You called Nora's doctor and canceled her surgery. I rescheduled it. There's a difference, I said. Patricia, you are not listed as Nora's guardian or emergency contact. The office should not have accepted that call. Her voice changed, not angry, careful. I introduced myself as her grandmother. They were very understanding. They made an error, I said. One that Dr. Marsh has now noted in Nora's file. A silence. Then, you called her back? Of course I called her back. This is my daughter's vision we're talking about. I was trying to help. Her voice was softer now, reaching for something. Connie's husband said. David said, Mom, who is Connie's husband? Another pause. Dr. Raymond Connie. He's in Charlotte. What is his specialty? Ophthalmology. Is he a pediatric ophthalmologist? Silence. Mom, general. David looked at me. I kept my face steady. I said, Doctor. Marsh has been practicing pediatric ophthalmology for 22 years. She knows Nora's specific case. A general ophthalmologist in Charlotte who spoke to you at a dinner party does not. Patricia said, I just wanted a second opinion. Then you ask for one, David said. You don't cancel a surgery that took 4 months to schedule and has a developmental time window. I didn't know about the time window, I said. We told you about the time window, Patricia. In November, at Thanksgiving, at the kitchen table. You were wearing your blue cardigan. You asked me to spell strabismus. The silence that followed lasted 11 seconds. I counted, then she said very quietly, I was scared for her. And here is the part I was not expecting. I believed her. Not completely, not enough to undo what she had done. But enough to understand that somewhere underneath the overreach and the Connie's 47-second voicemail was a grandmother who was genuinely frightened for a little girl she loved. Fear does not excuse what she did. Budit explained it in a way that mattered to how I chose to respond. I said, I know you were, but scared is not the same as authorized. She did not answer. David said, we need you to call Dr. Marsh's office tomorrow morning and tell them you acted without her knowledge. In writing if they'll accept it. We need that on record. Another silence. Then, okay. I'll call. I'm sorry, David. A pause. Claire, I'm sorry, I said. Thank you, Patricia. We hung up at 6:47 p.m. Patricia called Dr. Marsh's office at 9:02 the following morning. Brandon took her statement. Dr. Marsh's sheeter, a woman named Felicia, who had been managing surgical calendars for 11 years, and had what I can only describe as a gift for finding space where none appeared to exist, called me at 11:30 a.m. to tell me she had found a cancellation slot. 12 weeks later than the original date, but still within the developmental window Dr. Marsh had specified. Still safe. I sat in my car in the hospital parking lot and cried for 6 minutes, not from relief only, but the specific exhaustion of having to fight for something that should never have required a fight. Nora's surgery happened on a Thursday morning 3 weeks after the voicemail. She wore a hospital gown printed with small yellow ducks. She held a stuffed rabbit named Button that she has carried since she was 18 months old, and that has one ear slightly more worn than the other, from being held by a child who needed comfort. She came through the procedure perfectly. Dr. Marsh found us in the waiting room at 8:54 a.m. and said, with the quiet satisfaction of someone who loves their work, "She did beautifully. I still have the voicemail. I have not deleted it. I keep it the way you keep certain documents. Not because you need them every day, but because you need talk know they exist. Patricia and I have been rebuilding for 8 months. It is slow. There are Sunday dinners that feel careful and phone calls that feel shorter than they used to. She has not overstepped in any way that crosses a line since that Thursday in April. Whether that is remorse or caution, I cannot fully tell yet. Maybe it is both. Last month, she asked, not announced, if she could take Nora to the Children's Museum on a Saturday afternoon. I said yes. She brought her back at 4:30 p.m. with a paper crown Nora had made in a craft station and a small keychain from the gift shop that cost 3.50 cents and that Nora immediately attached to her backpack. At the door, Patricia handed me Nora's bag. Then she looked at me and said, without preamble or performance, "I know I'm not all the way forgiven. I just want you to know I understand why." I looked at her for a moment. Then I said, "That's a good place to start." I watch Nora's eyes track clearly now when she reads. I watch her catch a ball in the backyard without the slight hesitation she used to have. I watch her see things. I did not enjoy what happened with Patricia. I want to be clear about that. There was no satisfaction in it. There was only the hard, necessary work of protecting my daughter, and then the harder, slower work of deciding what to do with a relationship that had nearly cost us something irreplaceable. I am still deciding. The ring is still on my finger. Both of those things are true at once. This story is based on real experiences shared across public forums and has been adapted for storytelling purposes. Names and identifying details have been changed. I am Claire. And this has been Thorns and Pearls. If you have ever had to protect your child from someone who claimed to love them, drop a rose trenheen in the comments. I will know you were there.